Hey everyone, Real World Witness. This is Chrissy. I'm your host. I'm here with my good friend Dustin Gold. Hi, Dustin. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you today, Chrissy?
I'm doing good. So I want everybody to understand like how we met first. So we've known each other for several years, kind of, and then why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and explain what you're doing and what you were doing and what we were doing.
Yes. Well, my name is Dustin Gold. I have a show over at pain.tv/gold. Also, it's available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Pandora, SiriusXM, Amazon Podcast, whatever the free podcast services are out there. And that's called the Dustin Gold Standard. And then you can also find me at Twitter. I don't do a lot of tweeting because, like Chrissy, we've both lost many accounts over the years. But you can find me at Dustin Gold Show or at Hackable Animal. And then also I have a Telegram, which I really do not update, but I'm starting to set that up for the show. And that's at Dustin Gold Show. And then there's a group, the Gold Pillars, like Red Pill, but it's the Gold Pillars. And so, yeah, my background, the last, let's say, 15 years of my life, I was in corporate entertainment. I had a niche business where I managed and developed political impersonators. I had everything from Barack Obama to Donald Trump, Sarah Palin, George Bush, Bill Clinton. And we would work for major corporations for their annual events, their sales meetings, and then we would provide some of these impersonators to late night shows like Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon. And then also we had a political impersonator voice business, so we'd provide voiceovers for commercials, late night television, and stuff like that. And then I had met Chrissy because prior to being in the corporate entertainment industry, I was involved with politics and journalism back in Connecticut. And so I had met Chrissy because I was doing some podcasting and I was doing a Donald Trump impersonation myself at the time. And so she called me up and said, "Hey, I'd like to get you on my show." And then she introduced me to Douglas Ducote, who she was working with, who had a fairly large YouTube channel. He was doing a lot of sort of conservative MAGA content, exposing corruption in government. And so then we all connected and we had a production company and we were working with Doug. And then unfortunately, after doing a mini series on the border, covering political conferences like Politicon, going out live and covering important events like the Second Amendment gun rally in Virginia, and like in most people's lives, it disrupted everything, including that business, my marriage at the time, and a number of other things. So we all went in different directions. And it finally seems in the last couple of months that people are starting to get their footing back and people are starting to broadcast again and talk about issues again. But on my show, The Dustin Gold Standard, we're 32 episodes in. I do daily content, but we're really focusing on the technocracy, on the dangers of the technology coming, where we came from, where we're going, and then getting into transhumanism, which is the merger of man and machine. And I go deep into not the conspiracy surrounding it, but the investors, the players, the puppets, the governments involved, the international bodies, think tanks, non-governmental agencies and such that are involved with this. And so I decided I didn't want to do a daily breaking news podcast. I wanted to focus more on what I think is the real danger that's facing us, which is this technocracy and the merger of man and machine. And so I decided to spend the show on going into deep dive research into the actual players behind it and what they've been talking about for many years, and then finding who's actually investing in it and showing people that it's real so that we could sort of accept the fact that it's coming, but then figure out how we're going to live 1 foot in the matrix and 1 foot out of the matrix. How can you have some semblance of a natural life? If you have a kid on the way like I do, or grandchildren, how can you start to wean them off of the devices, off the iPads, off of the iWatches and such, and give them a chance at a real life to experience natural life versus being stuck inside of what's coming, which is this metaverse, which we'll probably talk about later.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, and I mean, my whole thing is this: is like I think that we need to. My goal in doing these shows and this is not only to educate people, but to also try and connect people because in the end, we're all going to have to connect to try and survive. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen, because those of us that do not want to take the jab and do not want to do, all these things that are coming down the pike with this mark of the beast and the chip and all of that, the biometrics. I mean, we'll get into all of that. We have to. We need to create a community so that then we can connect and we can sort of live outside the matrix, like you're saying, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I thought it would be a great idea to have you on, because this guy, I mean, let me tell you, when Dustin puts his mind to it, he just breaks everything down, and he breaks it all down so easy for people to understand. And that was why I kind of wanted you on my show for today. So right away, I want to get started with this deep fake video. Now, as you know, well, I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not anywhere right now. I mean, I do have a Telegram. I mean, I'm on Telegram. I basically just go there and look at stuff. But there's a lot of, videos and pictures and of all these, oh, well, look, this person's fake, that person's fake, blah, blah, blah. Can you explain, first of all, what deep fake is? And then, how does it work? Let's start there.
Okay, this is good, because I spent about 4 or 5 episodes on my show breaking down deepfake video technology, deepfake audio technology, and face swap technology, and then really what's coming after that and what they're working on now, which is this artificial intelligence copy of my brain or your brain or someone in your audience's brain, and then they develop what's called a mind twin, which is a digital sort of artificial intelligence driven in their minds living digital twin of yourself. But let me just show the audience a quick clip here, if you don't mind, before we get into it, so they have an understanding of this technology. Sort of, this is a deep fake, and we'd call this a face swap. So what it means is there is an actor that is driving this, call it a digital puppet. And so it would be like me if I skin my face with a cat or something on Snapchat or some of these apps that they utilize to normalize and humanize this technology. So let me just show a clip, and then we'll start breaking it down, and I'll go back and show you where some of this technology started. And then I'm going to show you a little bit about what this company, Artificial Intelligence Foundation, is working on as far as driving the digital twin, the mind twin, as they call it. And then we can work through a couple other videos, and you can start to see how realistic this stuff has become. And then hopefully we'll get to the point of talking about what I at least believe is the purpose behind a lot of this. So let me just show you a clip, and I think it'll pique your audience's interest if they haven't seen this already. So hold on one second. We will pull this up and play this. Deep Tom Cruise, we call this.
What's up, TikTok? All year long, Deep Tom Cruise has been posting videos showing what appears to be a different side of the Oscar-nominated actor.
I think there's bubblegum inside there.
People are surprised that I'm a big Dave Matthews guy.
But believe it or not, that's most definitely not Tom Cruise. Nor is this with me in our LA bureau.
This is serious breaking news, but a little behind the scenes, a little flavor. I'm with one of the most legitimate correspondents on earth. Now, if you're interviewing me, Jacob, you face it. Hold on just a second. There's a big fire. We're safe.
You are deepfake Tom Cruise.
That's me. That's me.
Miles Fisher may have an uncanny resemblance to the superstar, but using advanced technology, what he's created is far more than an extraordinary impersonation.
Have you guys created the best deepfake that has ever been made?
I think we have created the first deepfake that's so realistic that a large majority of people have seen.
Okay, so let me just tell you, that's an example, and this video goes on for about 5 minutes. We broke it down on the Dustin Gold Standard. But hold on, I just realized I'm not up here. I was apparently deepfake Tom Cruise for a minute. But so that company was sort of helping to normalize and humanize this, obviously through Tom Cruise, and then they've got this great charismatic actor behind it. Well, that gentleman was an actor in Hollywood, couldn't really get jobs because he sort of looked like Tom Cruise, so he was typecast. And then he went on to work with this engineer who developed this deep fake technology, kind of perfected it around him. Well, I never believed that this stuff just grows out of a garage somewhere. So I did some research into it, and the company that they have is actually called Metaphysic. And Metaphysic now has a second company called AnyEvery.Buddy, if you wanted to look it up. AnyEvery.Buddy. And AnyEvery.Buddy is now putting a call out for you to come over to their site, upload your facial scan biometrics, and create digital twins and mind twins of yourself. Well, I always look to who the investors are behind these cutesy little companies that pop up on TikTok. And the next thing you know, there is a gentleman who is one of the major investors in the company, who is the senior principal at his venture capital firm, and he was formerly a major investor for In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA's hedge fund. So let me just break this down now that you've seen a little bit. So there's a couple different variations of how the deepfake technology actually works in sort of the form that you saw. So what they call that is a face swap, where basically they're using high-end computers to create a digital projection of Tom Cruise's face that overlays over the top of that actor's face. Very similar to the rudimentary versions of that in Snapchat and other apps where you can do facial skins. Then you have what is like truly deepfake video, where they could take, for instance, a 20-second clip of Vladimir Zelensky or Vladimir Putin, right? And they can take a 20-second YouTube clip of them, and then they can either use like, say I could do a voice impression of Vladimir Putin. So I'd sit in front of my webcam and I would talk as Vladimir Putin, and then my facial movements and my voice, the voice would fill in the Vladimir Putin the kind of puppet we're creating, and my facial movements would move his face around, and I'll show you that in a second. And then what they've also developed now is this deepfake audio. So you could literally take a 20-second clip of Vladimir Putin, of his audio, and now you could literally type out in a script whatever you want it to say, and it'll come out sounding exactly like him. So that's actually going on right now, and this is like highly perfected. So I have a 1-minute video clip here I edited a few years ago. And the reason why I got interested in this topic, I should say, is I had this corporate entertainment company I mentioned. And so going back 4, maybe 5 years, I started to get calls for voice actors to provide voice impressions of political characters and celebrities for deepfake testing. And so that's how I was introduced into this arena. Now, as a business person back then who was in the entertainment industry, we started to see the possibility of using deepfake videos and our voice actors to create, 1 or 2 minute funny parody videos. So if we were doing whatever McDonald's annual sales conference, you could have Barack Obama come up on the screen. It looks just like him, it's him, but then he says something funny about eating Big Macs or whatever. So I started doing a lot of research into it, for selfish reasons, entrepreneurial reasons. And then what happened was in 2018, I was approached by a company called Artificial Intelligence Foundation, and they wanted to use our Barack Obama voice actor for like 50 hours to train what they were calling a MindQuest mind twin system. And so, like, okay, this is weirder than anything I've ever heard about. And so I did a lot of research into that company, and it turned out the CEO was a gentleman named Lars Butler. And Lars Butler came out of the video game world. He had a company called Tryon Worlds, and on our show, we broke down some old interviews of him from over 10 years ago. And Lars Butler was involved with the beginning phases of what would be the basis for the coming metaverse, training systems and training people, indoctrinating people into buying digital goods online inside of video games, dealing with cryptocurrencies. And this was all before cryptocurrencies were a thing. And so Lars Butler, you say, well, this video game nerd is now involved with a company building deepfakes and focusing on mind twinning, which is this artificial intelligence engine that is basically going to take your thoughts, your memories, your consciousness, and load it up into the cloud. And then that is going to act on its own as its own actor coming out of like your deepfake face. Well, Lars Butler also sits on the board of several companies with Keith Alexander, the former head of the NSA. Lars Butler is also involved with a company called IP3, which has to do with international nuclear reactors that our country was trying to sell to Saudi Arabia. And then Keith Alexander, former head of the NSA, sits on the board of the Artificial Intelligence Foundation with Lars Butler. And they also have Peter Thiel backing them, which many people may know was Donald Trump's like only Silicon Valley billionaire backer. But Peter Thiel is a devout transhumanist in his own words, and he poses as a conservative libertarian, but the guy has over $2 billion in government contracts going on right now with the CIA, NSA, IRS, DOD, CDC, Health and Human Services. So Peter Thiel is anything but a small government, freedom-based libertarian conservative. He is a government puppet, really, an oligarch for the technocracy, and he believes in this ideology called the singularity, which is the point in which artificial intelligence becomes smarter than humans, and then humans are left with no choice but to actually merge with machines, the merger of man and machines. And these guys actually believe this, and they're running around with billions of dollars of government money investing it into technology like this, but stuff that is actually a lot more dangerous.
Yeah. Well, and then also I want to touch upon, people are say, well, how are they going to get, my thoughts and my, my personality and look at everything is, using your face, right? Doing your FaceTime, your video, Facebook. Let's talk about Facebook for a minute. If anybody believes that Mark Zuckerberg came out of a college to create Facebook, they're out of their minds. It was totally a CIA op in order to get all of our information. And everybody goes on there and we talk about, people were talking about whatever. And so that's another aspect of it. And then you have people going on TikTok and, just all these things. And they're able to create a profile of how we are, what we do, what we think, how we think. And that's why I've never liked this whole cloud storage type situation where everything goes to the cloud. And it's so funny because back in 1998, I think it was. And I know, okay, I'm an X-Files fan, I was all into all that. They actually had an episode where they talked about how, these two people were trying to upload their consciousness into on the net, the internet. And that was in 1998 when they were talking about it. They've been developing this for years. And it's mind-boggling, and it's hard for people to understand that there are people out there that all they want to do is dominate and control, and that's it. So what do you say to people who are like this there's no way this can be happening? Why would our government do this? Why would they do this? Why would they behind our backs develop all these things? And what would you say to that?
Well, that's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of complex answers in that. But first off, I just want to say, okay, so let's go back to the beginning here, modern times. There's a gentleman named Ray Kurzweil, and Ray Kurzweil is what they would call a futurist or a prophet. But Ray Kurzweil is not actually a futurist. He is an engineer and an inventor who just over the last several decades, talks about what he and the industry are developing and says, within 10 years, artificial intelligence will be here. And then within the industry, they call him a prophet or a futurist because he predicts these things. He's not predicting anything. He's just telling you what he's working on. So if I say, I am Dustin Gold and I am a futurist, in 3 seconds, I'm going to lift a pen. Oh my God, he's a prophet. How did he predict that? Well, Ray Kurzweil eventually became the chief engineer at Google. He had also worked with Microsoft on and off over the years. And Kurzweil actually believes he was sort of the inventor of this concept singularity, which is the merger of man and machine. Peter Thiel, back in 2006, invested in what was called the Singularity Institute and used to speak at what was called the Singularity Summit. He put a lot of money into those programs. And so Kurzweil actually believes, and he started talking about this stuff publicly 10, 15 years ago. Even Glenn Beck interviewed him on his Fox News show. And Kurzweil believed that we were going to have such advancements in sort of biotechnology and in medicine and healthcare that if he could last another 10 years, which is up to about this point, up to about 2025, that they would have enough cures for the human body that he would then be able to live another 10 years. And then that 10-year mark would get him to around 2030, 2035, where we would actually load, he talks about this publicly, like this is not me making it up, that they would be able to load nanobots into his body. Where did we hear that before?
Yeah.
So the nanobots into his body that would repair all of his cells. And then that would get him to the next 10-year hump where he would be able to upload his consciousness, like his very being, his thoughts, his memories, his knowledge, everything up into the cloud. And then he could take that in the cloud and beam down his consciousness into a new biological body, which would mean, say, like a baby that they grew in a lab, where they has no mind and they upload his brain into it. Or he actually believes in uploading it to a non-biological nanobot, essentially an Iron Man suit. So like downloading their consciousness into a robot, basically. And so Kurzweil, this guy has been praised by pretty much everyone that you've ever heard of. I mean, he is a big deal in this industry. And so when you look at Kurzweil, who's been talking about this and helping engineer this type of technology, then you look at Elon Musk. I know a lot of people love him, but guess what, folks? Elon Musk, if you want to watch, I did a breakdown of his 2018 interview with Joe Rogan and his 2020 interview with Joe Rogan, where he talks heavily about the Neuralink brain chip, which is his company focused on basically, it's a Fitbit-sized device that and this is how he describes it, they're going to drill a hole in the back of your skull, cut open the membrane that covers your brain, open it up, and then there's 1,000 wires hanging off of this Fitbit Bluetooth-enabled device that go down into your brain. On each wire, there's 1,024 electrodes, and that will go down inside your head. And as Musk even says, the initially, they're using people with paralysis as the guinea pigs to test it, but the goal eventually is to be able to upload your consciousness to the cloud through this device. And also, as Kurzweil explains, and Elon Musk and others explain, there will be a third layer to your brain, this silicone-based, stored in the cloud neocortex, which will have all of this internet power, all of this knowledge. So when you actually look at what they're saying and you break apart really what they're going to give us and what they're going to give themselves, they actually believe that they're going to create this AI hive mind. And as I used to joke about it years ago. Then when I did the research, I'm like, oh my God, this is what they're doing. And so Elon Musk describes each and every one of us as just nodes in the system. And every time we interact with technology, whether that be wittingly or unwittingly, so whether you're on your phone browsing the internet, whether you're uploading content to Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, whether you are just walking down the street and being tracked by traffic cameras or the Amazon Ring cameras on everyone's house, whether you're being tracked in your home through your Google Nest or your Alexa, through all these Siri on different Apple products, every interaction that you are making with technology, you are helping them build the AI hive mind, as Musk even explains it. And so Kurzweil believes that they are actually going to have access to this AI hive mind, which will turn them into essentially super gods with all the knowledge, memories, thoughts, experiences of everyone in the entire world. And so if you look at Yuval Noah Harari, who is the king philosopher, the right-hand man to Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum.
You call him a prophet.
Oh yeah. No. He's known as the prophet. He is on the level as Kurzweil, except Kurzweil is actually an engineer who developed some of this, where Yuval is more of a philosopher. But Yuval Noah Harari has straight up said, you have no soul, you have no spirit, you have no free will. Those days are over. You are a useless human. You are a hackable animal. And you better get used to the fact of that. And he straight up told us that data is the new gold. Property used to be sort of the gold standard of assets. Now it is data. Right. And as he said, those who control the data will be the gods of the new era. And so these are what I call the transhumanists. And you're dealing with these guys. And then you look at the money behind them all, like Peter Thiel pumps money into Elon Musk, even though sometimes on the surface they pretend to be enemies. Peter Thiel has money behind this guy, Lars Butler, who's doing the mind twinning software. And I will show a video shortly. Lars Butler was working with Sir Richard Branson and Deepak Chopra, who Deepak Chopra ended up doing a deep dive because he is a big-time transhumanist behind this whole thing. What they've been doing in the interim before the brain chip comes about is they've been sitting down with Lars Butler and his team of technocratic engineers, and they are manually uploading their knowledge and their memories into the system. It's a process they call MindQuest. This is part of what they wanted to hire my voice actor to help them train years ago. Now, I did a whole show, took a lot of risk doing it, insider information, and I actually went through all of my emails back and forth with a gentleman named Rob Mallory inside the Artificial Intelligence Foundation. We broke all that down, and I showed the very beginnings of when they were trying to recruit us to work with them, which we did not end up doing. But that's what they're doing in the meantime. They're developing this MindQuest software. Everything goes through stages, right? So in the beginning phases, they're kind of working through the process, but that all becomes the test pilot, the beta test for what the systems, the computers are going to end up doing once it's lodged inside of your head. Now, my personal belief is Elon Musk nor these guys have any intention of giving us access to the superpower AI hive mind. They are going to hook us up to a slave system, which we'll get into later, very much like the movie The Matrix, which will be in the form of the metaverse, which they're actively building now. And they will have these things in their head or their brains inside of robots and believe that they are going to be these super gods with all the knowledge. Now, it's my personal opinion that the one part that they keep getting frustrated about is they may have cracked the code to hacking humans, to hacking our minds, to hacking our genetics, but they can't figure out how to duplicate a soul, and that's probably because they don't have them. So one of the things where I think their system will fail is that they'll never be able to upload Deepak Chopra's brain into a cloud and beam it down into a robot, and it will be Deepak Chopra, because it will lack a soul. It will basically just be a computer copy, a copy of a software, a hack copy. And that's why I tell my audience all the time, these people are not gods. They're only playing God. They want to be God because they constantly talk about hacking us. And all they are at the end of the day is hackers, hijackers, and pirates. That's actually all they are. If they were gods, they would be able to snap their fingers and create a whole new race. They'd be able to snap their fingers and create a whole new galaxy. They'd be able to snap their fingers and be on Mars. They're not gods. They can't do that. Why, when they're building robots and building artificial intelligence, are they always trying to copy how the brain works or create a robot that works and walks like a human? Because the design, wherever we came from God, from the creator, whatever it is people believe, if you believe that there's a higher power than you, then that was all perfection. So all they're trying to do is duplicate that, and then they're trying to hack us, genetically modify us, which, we'll get into that on another show, but genetically modify humans out of existence, basically, because we are competitors to them. That's the actual truth. That's why they want us out of the way, because humanity is God's design. They want to create something new, but they can't actually create anything new. They're just copying things. And I will just say to people before we get deeper, so this isn't so dark. This is the silver lining in all of this. At the end of the day, all of their genetic modification stuff, all of their control of our bodies through nanobots, all of their prison planet technology that will probably be run on Elon Musk's Starlink, which is being built out of SpaceX. All of this at the end of the day is technology. It runs on energy and it runs on their satellite internet systems. So at the end of the day, they're a giant paper tiger, because if somebody is able to ever pull the plug on the internet, on their internet, their whole entire system dies and collapses.
Exactly. And I find it very interesting how they totally believe that they can duplicate God's code, because people don't understand DNA is God's code. That's what it's humanity and the soul. I mean, you cannot duplicate that. And also, you mentioned I just lost my train of thought, sorry. Also, you mentioned the fact that you can't, okay, so they cannot duplicate a soul. They cannot create. Evil cannot create. That was the point that I want to make. This is all evil. It's all a I think draconian plan to further enslave humanity. We've been enslaved for how many thousands of years, Dustin? You know, we were brought up in this system, okay? We don't know anything else. And I think when people start really like listening to shows like what you're doing, and you know, shows that teach how they've been harnessing and keeping us enslaved, I think it's the awakening that it is happening. I think more and more people are getting wise to what they're trying to do. The key is to not have fear, because that's what they use. Our emotions, they use, you know, in order to use their technology. I don't know, there was a point there, but anyway, I can't remember what I was going to ask.
Well, I'll just say to that. First off, you said they cannot duplicate God's code. Well, no, they can't. I mean, that's why they're trying to hack it. Everything is about hacking natural life. They want to completely control the natural world that we live in through genetic modification of both humans and plants and animals. They are building a prison planet with all the camera systems, all the monitors, all the smart devices. We broke this down over a few shows, and I taught the audience about the Internet of Things, the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Senses, which becomes the Internet of everything, and then the eventual metaverse. So what I believe they're actually trying to do is they're going to control the natural world, the planet, utilizing this prison planet technology, okay, and by basically uploading software into every living thing, down to the last blade of grass, down to the last annoying little gnat. And then the other side of it is they're building out the metaverse, which is an entire duplicate, again, a copy of the world inside of this 3D immersive video game, essentially. Think of like a Second Life type video game. That's what they're actually building at World Economic Forum. We just reviewed a panel discussion they had there with 4 top technocrats, and they're already talking about the governments and the private sector, even though it's one thing, working together to build an international one world government governance for the metaverse. So what I think they're actually attempting to do, and it looks like this by the research I've done. When I talk about research, I'm not talking about listening to other people's podcasts or reading InfoWars. I'm talking about actually watching their speeches, reading their white papers, looking at the investors, looking at the government money behind it, reading articles coming out of their trades, and watching these panel discussions and seeing what these tech companies are actually building in cooperation with the government. So what I believe the end goal is, at least the end goal in this phase, is they want to have this metaverse, which is like the movie The Matrix, and they're basically going to put us inside it. Initial form may be that you're sitting in your 400 square foot pod apartment, smart city, prison cell, in your chair with a virtual reality headset or augmented reality. And the difference between the two is virtual reality, you're in a 3D walk around world. Augmented reality are like glasses you wear where you're walking down the street and you could say, what street is that? And then what they call an intelligent data design will pop up and you'll see like, oh, that's the street. So you're looking at an overlay of Google Maps while you're walking down the street. And so you're going to live in this pod attached to the metaverse all day. eventually you'll be connected to it through the brain chip. And the idea behind this is totally about, I want people to put out of their mind that it has anything to do with money and profits, because the guys at the top are the same people who control the markets. They control Wall Street. They control the spreadsheets. So if they want to make someone like Elon Musk appear to be the richest guy in the world, they just have his stock go up tomorrow and he gets to play the richest man in the world for 24 hours until someone else beats him out. But they use the money, which I just call food coupons, whether that be in the form of central bank digital currency eventually, or whether that be the paper dollars we have today. It's just coupons they print and they hand it out to you. But that's how they get the 99% of us on board through our jobs, to enforce the laws, whether you're a policeman, or to code these programs if you're a software developer. And so that's how they get all the people on board. But to those guys, this isn't about money. This is power, control, and wanting to be God, wanting to control everything. So I believe the goal is they are going to make the real world, the natural world, totally controlled, and totally, the areas they're going to force us into are going to be unbearable and disgusting. They want it to be like the movie Matrix, where the world was scorched. And so if the world is terrible, there's food shortages, you can't go out in public because there's murder and crime everywhere, then you're going to be driven to the promised land. The promised land is the metaverse. So in there, you can have your mansion, and in there, you can have your Lamborghini.
You can go walk around and, go shopping. Oh,
Yes.
let's go into this mall and that mall. Oh, you want to go to Paris? Okay, well, let's just the funny thing is that they showed us this, and they show it in movies and in TV shows all the time. Remember the Total Recall, where that's what they do. You go in and you sit down and you have your little goggles and you go on vacation for a week, and they ask you what you want to do. Oh, I want to be a spy, or I want to do that. But they want us in our homes. That's the whole key. And they don't want us to have any kind of interaction. Okay. Human interaction is not allowed. I mean, that was part of this whole COVID thing that we went through. And that's their goal. They just want us to be non-human, just stay in your place, stay in your own little 200 square foot apartment, don't do anything, and we can monitor everything. They want to monitor your body, all of it, your brain. You have there's no I would say there would be no freedom. There's no free living anymore, and I mean, we're not free anyway, but I mean, I'm just saying, right now we have the illusion of it, where we're able to go out and do whatever we want at this juncture, supposedly. But they want us to just be in our homes and do nothing. It's really sad. And this is the other thing I don't understand is how can people not follow these things? How do people not fall for this crap? I mean,
that I don't know, but I will say, if you want to take it a step further and get a little more dystopian, I think part of what so again, they're going to basically destroy the natural world to drive us into this promised land they call the metaverse. Now, Peter Thiel actually said on tape, I have it, it's an older interview, he said transhumanism, which again is the merger of man and machine. So Ray Kurzweil and these guys, these transhumanists, they're on the quest for immortality, all right? They have a thirst for eternal life for themselves. And so Peter Thiel actually said in this interview, I don't know what the big hubbub is between Christianity and transhumanism. It's actually very similar, and there's only minor metaphysical differences. He's like, at the end of the day, they both offer eternal life and you never get sick and such. So Peter Thiel's sitting there with the God complex saying that this concept of you transcending to heaven and having eternal life with God is the same concept as him sitting there and telling you, I will give you eternal life if you merge with machine. I mean, it's really sick stuff. But if you want to go a step further, what I believe is going to happen, you have to ask yourself, put COVID and the jabs and boosters aside, but you have to say, if there's 7.6 billion people on Earth,
Right.
And going all the way back to the 70s with Henry Kissinger and even before, these guys writing these depopulation plans, you have to say, why would they allow us to stay here? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, I believe we are natural filters, okay, in the environment. We inhale oxygen, we exhale carbon dioxide. So we're natural filters for them. Number two, they are actually developing a technology very similar to in the Matrix, in which they're going to use human bodies as energy. And so there's a company already out of one of the major universities that have developed a band that you wear. It's like a living skin that sucks the energy out of the heat of your skin and then transfer that energy back to your skin and powers all your wearable devices like the iWatch and the iPad. So I mean, the iWatch or Fitbit and such. So I've been starting to do research. Some of this I talked about on the show, other stuff it's not ready for prime time yet. The third thing is that they already have human DNA storage drives for the big data. So all the data that they're collecting every day would take up servers the size of Hawaii. So now they actually have this technology they're starting to talk about, which I think they've already been using. That's generally how this works, is they have human DNA on these glass slides that can store like 1 million times more than any kind of hard drive you've ever seen. So in a way, I believe we're going to be partially used for DNA storage because there's so much big data that's going to need to power this artificial synthetic world that they're building, whether it's the prison planet out here in the natural world or whether it's the total cyber world inside of the metaverse. So that they're working on. And then if you look at Microsoft's patent, you know, the 060606 you saw memes about, I actually did a show on it. I mean, it is real, it's there. And so the concept behind that is based on the movements your body's making or the thoughts and the activity of your brain, they're able to read that through devices like, say, some of these VR headsets that have cameras inside that look at your eyes and everything. And so then it will disseminate crypto tokens to you for the activities you're doing. So what I think the end goal is, humans are basically going to be like these solar panels or these big windmills that we see out there. We're basically going to be living in a metaverse and creating energy with our brains that will then be sucked back out. That energy will be used to power this whole AI hive mind metaverse. And then our bodies may be used to partially store big data for them. And then the last reason is because, as Kurzweil has said, and Musk and others, they're basically going to suck all of the knowledge and stuff out of each of our heads. It's going to go to power this giant AI hive mind that they're going to beam back down into their brains. I mean, they actually believe this. It sounds crazy. It does sound crazy, but you remember Batman with Jim Carrey when he was the Riddler?
Yes.
And he's like, if knowledge is power, then a god am I. And he's like sucking all the knowledge out of everyone's heads. That's the predictive programming. I mean, that's what they're doing.
Well, I just don't see that happening, honestly. Because
well, no, they're trying. I mean, they are trying
to, but there's definitely a God factor in all this. I just don't think these people, I just keep waiting. I really believe, this is what I think. I think there is God. I think God is not going to allow his creation to be destroyed like this. These people, they belong in their own little metaverse. They can stay there with their little, their hybrid, whatever it is. And I really don't think it's going to happen. Because like you said, it's going to take so much energy. I mean, think about this. Let's just talk about what they're trying to implement in the public right now, real quick. They're, this whole Green New Deal. Remember when AOC said it, and they were like, "You're out of your mind," and what are you talking about? The Green New Deal. Well, hello, that's what they've been implementing for the last 5 years, or whatever, this last 5-6 years. They've been doing it little by little, right? Now these electric vehicles, the EV vehicles that you're plugging in and doing all this, there's not enough electricity. Listen, people can't even use their air conditioner. They have to have rolling blackout. I mean, even if, let's just say, for argument's sake, that Starlink and Elon Musk and their whole infrastructure that they're doing, they can have enough energy to do that. I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. I really believe that what they're trying to do is years and years I just don't, I don't see it happening. I mean,
Well, I actually believe they're much smarter than people want to give them credit for. I believe the whole Green New Deal and all of the EV cars and everything is intentional, because all they're doing now. So if you look at the Great Reset that comes out of the World Economic Forum and is like Klaus Schwab, the head of the World Economic Forum, the founder of it. So COVID land, the high school theater production, as I call it, was the Great Reset. And so the point of the Great Reset was to move us from the third industrial era, which was like the IT, the internet technology era, into the fourth industrial revolution, as Klaus Schwab's 2016 book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, as he says, to move us into the fourth industrial era. So right now, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And so that's the ushering in of all these new technologies we're starting to see. But what I believe is a lot of it is like a smoke screen. It's like a facade. So the idea of creating sort of the branding and narrative around climate change and, pollution and all that stuff, and blaming us for all that when we're not the guys who made gasoline, and we're not the people who put water into plastic petroleum-based bottles and put them on the store shelves. They do that. But they're going to convert everyone over to this system because they need to shift us into what is going to collapse. I believe in the end, you're going to see they're going to go, oh, we made a mistake, it collapsed. And then that's the beginning of taking away your cars, not having heat and stuff in your house. As I said, they have to make the world, the natural world, miserable. But through the technologies they're developing to create the prison planet, once they have the prison planet, think about it like a real prison complex, and they load everyone into the prison complex or into Auschwitz concentration camp, then they turn off all the lights and they cut off the supply chain, and now people are running around eating each other alive, and then they say, well, here's the solution. Put this chip in your head or put on your VR goggles and go inside the metaverse. It's going to be really great. So I personally think all of this is by design, because they are shutting the whole system down. The system we interact with, the energy that we get, the internet that we get is being shut down. All the services, all the brick and mortar AT&Ts and Verizons that are closing, all the banks that are closing. No, they're shutting it down. This is part of the fourth industrial revolution, is the old world, as Peter Thiel has publicly said. He loved COVID. He said, this is great. We're moving from the old economy to the new economy, which is exactly what Klaus Schwab and Yuval Noah Harari and the rest of them say. So all of these guys on perceived sides that have power and influence, I think that's what they're moving us towards. This is shutting us down and then moving us into the new system so they can make the natural world just crumble, and that's going to drive us into the metaverse. That's what I think their plan actually is. Now, does AOC and these people know about it? No, not at all. She's just like you or me. She's driven by the paycheck that she gets, and then she goes out there and plays a part.
Right. Well, I still, I mean, I'm hoping to the fact that something's going to happen, and this whole thing is just not going to happen this way, because I refuse to believe that my nieces and nephews are going to live in a world where they're hooked up to a matrix like this. I can't go there with it. I have to believe that there's going to be some divine intervention here. I
go there with it because I'm a realist, and the thing is that short of, like you said, God intervening. Okay. So short of some kind of massive, climate disaster that happens that knocks all the satellites out of the skies and shuts all their stuff down and blows up all the Google server farms and everything. And that would be how God intervenes, right?
Yeah.
Which nature can knock out their technology, as I've said. Short of that happening, or short of people waking up, and I'm not advocating that people commit crimes because I don't want to be responsible if you get arrested, but short of people going and blowing up their satellites or something like that, I don't see any other way. Now, as far as their technology goes, and after I've researched a lot, I think anything that they want to build that's technological, they can 100% build it. I believe anything that they want to do as far as manipulating genetics through tampering with DNA. I believe they 100% can do it. Now, some of this stuff, I personally believe they're actually 25 years ahead of what they tell us. I don't believe they're behind it. So I don't think they put out hype. I actually think they only introduce you to when they're trying to run an adoption campaign and get people to start using something. So they'll develop a technology, say like a Fitbit, inside of DARPA or NASA or the CIA and the government. And then when they're ready to roll it out 20 years later, they'll hand it off to somebody like Elon Musk, who will be like the PR front man who goes and rolls it out in the public and gets the public to start putting on Fitbits. And even on my show, I said, look, beginning solutions, you need to start taking off the Fitbit. You need to start taking off the iWatch. If your kids are addicted to iPads and stuff, I mean, you can't just yank them. You have to slowly wean them off these things. I get pushback from people that go, what are you, nuts? How they got to work in this world? Well, why are you listening to me?
School.
You know,
How are they going to do? That's the other issue.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, schools, I mean, they've adopted, when we went to school back in the day, in the 80s, we weren't allowed to have a calculator. We weren't allowed to use computers and stuff, computers were just coming out back then. Now, everybody's allowed to do whatever electronic thing that they need to do in order to get, to be taught. It's ridiculous. And so how do you suggest people wean their kids off? I don't know how that's going to be, and how are we going to extricate ourselves? Because I think the best way, in my opinion, is trying to get rid of the cell phone, which is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
I can't even do it.
Go
ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know how people are going to do it, because as I've come to realize on my show, and then the things I'm doing in my personal life, is that each person obviously is an individual. That's what people like us that had come from the right, believe. And so what I've been talking about on my show and with guests I brought on is that first you have to look in the mirror and you have to see and evaluate where you are in life, how entangled you are with technology. You have to understand where this all started, which is what I'm working on my show still. We're only 32 episodes in. Then you have to understand where we are today, and then where we're going 5, 10, 15 years from now. And then you have to sit down and make an honest assessment of your life. Just like if you were putting a resume together because you needed to get a new job. And you have to start writing down all of these things, and we're eventually going to work on sort of a boilerplate that people can use. And you have to say, these are all the places where I rely on technology for personal life. These are all the places where I rely on technology for my business life or my work life. These are the things that my kids are doing. And then what you have to do is start to realistically go down that list and put an X next to the things that you can remove from your life, you can live without. And then you have to do the same thing with your children. And then all of a sudden you're going to end up coming up with a list, realistic list based on your life of where you're at, where you could be, where you want to be, and the phases to get from A to Z. And you have to decide how much of this stuff that you are willing to put up with, how much you're willing to live with, how much you're willing to sacrifice and live without. How much do you really need? Well, do you really need 9 TVs in your house? Can you just say screw it and sell them all on Facebook Marketplace and get rid of television altogether? Do you really need a Fitbit monitoring your heart rate when you jog? Well, 5 years ago, you didn't have that. So what do you need it for now? So in my personal life, I share with the audience, because if I'm going to talk the talk, I have to walk the walk. So in my personal life, we're having, my wife and I are having a baby at the end of October. We ended up going with a midwifery instead of a hospital. So we have a team of midwives that are part of a group. And so we're doing a home birth. It's going to be a water birth. We are not using hospitals. In an emergency situation, we're going to end up having to. We have a doula who's basically like her coach that helps her all the way through it. So we're doing that completely natural. We're not using drugs and painkillers. We prep for it. We exercise all the time. We source all of our food now from local farms. from vegetables to meats.
Yeah.
So we've started the process ourselves of going completely clean. And then we've been discussing already, how we're going to raise the child, what decisions we have to make where you can't shield them from this stuff because
Right.
you're not going to push them out of the nest when they're 18 years old into a technological prison planet that they know
Right.
nothing about. But at the same time, if you can raise them, if this is your choice, if
Yeah.
you can raise them in this natural world, you teach them how to farm, you teach them how to garden, you teach them how to hunt, you teach them about all these tools that they could use to survive on their own in the wilderness. At the same time, you're teaching them about software programming and things like that could be skills in which they could make money in the matrix, but they understand it's a tool. It's not a way of a life. They're not addicted to it. So they may learn a little bit about video games and stuff because maybe that's how they're going to make their money, designing them, but they're not in there doing it for entertainment / the way of life. So that's all the stuff we've been working on, and I share on the show, and more of that will be coming because as I'm doing it and figuring out myself, I'm sharing it with the audience. But I think that's what people have to do, and it is hard work, and it's really not anything that people ever thought they were going to have to do.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you're listening to a show like Chrissy's or a show like mine or the Mike Moore's show, the Thomas Paine podcast, which is like the mother show over mine at the paine.tv/gold, or you're listening to the Whitney Webbs or the Patrick Woods or the people. So you're obviously interested in it. And then you want solutions. The only real solutions at this point, short of you building a standing army and going to war with Silicon Valley, is to start to figure out how you're going to do this in your life. Because the truth is, and this is why I say it on the show, is that for the majority of us, for 99.9% of us, we can't go full Amish tomorrow, okay? A lot of us, I'm 41, I still have to work, okay? I need to make a lot of money. I have a kid on the way. So I can't just go, that's it, I'm out of here. I'm going to go live on 10 acres, no grid, no phone or anything, because you just can't do it. So that's why I say it's figuring out the system that works for you and your family to live 1 foot in the matrix and 1 foot out of the matrix. Can you realistically have a home that's maybe on an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, that's got gardens and farms and everything, try to produce as much as you can, have neighbors that you can barter with, and then not have internet at the house, not have it hooked up to all of these smart devices, and then maybe 10 miles away, you have an old-fashioned little office you go to, or you go to your job where you have internet and you do your work, you plug into the matrix to make your digital tokens. But when you go home, you don't have that. That's all the stuff we're kind of figuring out now, because for most people, I think that's more of the realistic approach at this phase.
I think so too. And I think also mindset is a huge thing. And when you were talking about, doing things in nature, I mean, like, one thing that I've learned is, I'm out here on the Washington coast, and I'm out here in this beauty and I go to the ocean all the time, to the beach, and I just basically have learned that I have to unplug from this political, like, everything. This is what I came to the conclusion the other day. Okay, everything that is man-made at this juncture is static. Okay, it's really not necessary. For instance, everybody, me, I mean, I've been so upset with the political and all that, and I finally came to the conclusion that you just have to change your mindset into rising above all of that. And you're right, and being able to, kind of have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, create your own reality. That's what it is. You're creating your own reality in which you want to live, the way that you want to live. And that's why it's so important, I think, to look for alternatives, to going in, buying processed foods. And I mean, think about it. Our groceries and stuff, I mean, nothing is fresh, all the vegetables in the air. And let's talk about the organic. I mean, they put chemicals on that too in the main, grocery stores and things like that. So I think that you're right in saying, you have to figure out what will work for you and how you can eliminate this man-made, technocratic, world that they've got us plugged into. And it's all just about, I think, really reevaluating what is important to you, and what do you need to do to be happy? Because in the long run, you know me, for years, I mean, you know how I get angry, so frustrated, upset about so many things that are going on in the political realm, and in what they're doing to the kids. I mean, that's another main issue that I have with this sex education and the CRT and all this stuff. And yes, you can have you can get as involved as you want in it, but in the long run, you have to figure out what's going to make you happy, and how can you survive and get around these systems. And that's sort of where I'm at now with everything.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, it's creating your own reality, and at the same time, understanding what is coming so that you can continue to navigate it. I mean, the truth of the matter is, it's coming. So there's some people that say, I don't even think about it. I don't, will say to me, I don't think about it. I want to know about it. And, that approach is really like putting your head in the sand and thinking that if your head is in the sand, nothing's going on around you. So as the ostrich has its head in the sand, there could be 3 lions surrounding it that are about to eat it. Just because the ostrich can't see it doesn't mean the lions aren't going to eat it. So that's why I've been so focused on researching and dissecting and analyzing this, because over the years I've listened to a lot of podcasts and investigative journalists, and sometimes there's topics like delving into Jeffrey Epstein for 14 million hours that I go, okay, like how is this helping me in any way? So I said, all right, I've got to do my own show. And to be honest with the audience, part of the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm basically building out the beginning of what's going to be a homeschool lesson library for my kid, because this is documenting a lot of what I believe should be taught in schools. There's only so many years in a row I can learn about the War of 1812, or learn about how terrible the Europeans were for slavery. I mean, I could teach my kid about slavery in about one afternoon. All right, that's it. We move on. I could tell them about how Europeans came here and killed Native Americans. I could get that done in an afternoon. But the fact is, where are they going to be in the future? And again, it's your kid. Humans are autonomous, but you got to give them the tools and the education to decide how much they want to live in this. Your kid may decide, Dad, you're crazy. I'm putting a brain chip in my head and I'm going to jump and live in the metaverse. I mean, at the end of the day, that may be the choice that they end up making. And that's what I say to the audience too. I mean, you're armed with all of this research and intelligence that we're gathering. Some people could take this, as I review a lot of companies and the backers, and turn this into short-term investments for themselves. Some people can take this information and decide, oh my God, I'm checking out. I'm going to move somewhere and get a farm. Some people may decide, I just don't have the resources. I got to stay in my apartment in the city, hunker down, and hope for the best. I mean, everyone is going to have a different decision. Do I believe there's going to be some kind of an international revolution uprising against it? No, I think the international revolution is happening. That's the 4th Industrial Revolution. I think that Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari, Ray Kurzweil, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and the rest of these people are actually, when they write their own history, they're going to be what we think of as the founding fathers. They're the founding fathers of the technocracy, of transhumanism, and of the metaverse matrix prison planet. I mean, personally, if it's a battle, men versus men, I mean, I'm just trying to be realistic about this. They are winning, and I don't ever see that the people are going to rise up against it. I don't think, 99.9999% of people don't even know what is happening right here. And I consider myself to be well researched, and I'm probably missing a large chunk of it as well. So.
Well, I mean, there's people out there that there are, there's, you got to go anyway. There's these other factors that go into everything, and I really believe that. Have you heard of these? I meant to ask you. Have you heard of these solar flare events and all that? Have you heard anything about that? There's supposedly
I've never researched it. No.
Yeah, there's supposedly some solar flare event that's going to happen that is going to be supposedly the 24th of this month, and it's going to change everything, or people are going to wake up. It's going to be, I don't know. It's biblical. I don't know if you've ever watch Bo Pony. I don't know if you watch him. He's sort of an analyst of like what's going on in the real world and then he kind of implements what's in the Bible and kind of goes like that. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I don't know. I hope.
I mean, could divine intervention happen? Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think so. Do I believe? No, because I honestly don't believe that this is bad enough yet. I think it gets a whole lot worse. I think if you think that people have to live under 7 years of the Antichrist, I don't even think that's happened yet. So I think it gets a hell of a lot worse than this. I think large amounts of people will have to die in a massive genocide. I think people are going to have to be getting hooked up to the ships. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that unrolls over the next 5, 10, 15 years. It's going to get like dark. I mean, right now we're allowed to sit here in the comfort of our homes talking back and forth on the internet. This will not exist when we get to, because you'll be forced into the metaverse, but the metaverse won't be, I mean, you're going to be in there because they forced and corralled you into it. I mean, in a sense, we're forced into communicating this way. If you think about it, part of the problem that we have today, and when you listen to these technocrats on the panels at World Economic Forum and others talk about the metaverse and how great it is that, we'll be able to talk to someone in China and it automatically converts it into English and back into China for that. And I'm saying, okay, you see how they've developed this global world. Well, is the world better that we live in a global world where I could talk to somebody in China right now and it translates for me? Or was the world better back in the 70s or 80s when all I would be concerned about is my family, my neighbors, my neighborhood, my community, my town, my county, my town, my state? And so you'd be more focused on your neighborhood, so your neighborhood would actually be a better place. You'd actually know your neighbors, as many people don't anymore. And so is the world better because we can talk it back and forth from coast to coast? No. I mean, if I could snap my fingers today, I would roll back to 1980 where there was no internet and no cell phones in a heartbeat.
Me too. That's what I keep saying. I'd like to go back to 1985, 1980s. I mean, I grew up in the 80s. Of course, I was a teenager in the 80s. And, and I think about that. I think about the fact that, like, my nieces and nephews, they don't have the same childhood that I had. I mean, like, first of all, I was very sheltered. Okay. Very, very sheltered. We lived in Utah. All right. And we're not Mormon. Okay. So, enough said on that. But I'm just saying, I actually am grateful that I was, I had a normal childhood. We were out, we were roller skating, we were using our bikes, we were going to our friend's house. We weren't there was no, I mean, the computers started coming out and this and that. And of course we had Atari. Remember Atari, ColecoVision? And of course we got those things and whatever, and it was cool, but that's not what our lives were not controlled by it. We had our own, luckily my parents, I mean, I was able to just, okay, I'm going over to my friend's house and I'm gone, all right, well, call me when you get there. I mean, we were out and about doing things. And that I think people need to get back to. We have to get.
Well, it was the real world. It was the natural world. That's what I'm talking about. And that's why what you're seeing around you today, when I talk about the, the synthetic cyber prison planet they're building, I'm not saying like, you have to get to the point where you walk outside and there's cameras everywhere and you see everything go. It's already here. Right. Part of the fact that we are using devices at schools and the fact that we're driving electric cars and the fact that we are tracked everywhere we go and the fact that over half the homes in America have Amazon Ring doorbell cameras now that are facial scanning you at all times. We are already in the prison planet. They talk about smart cities. The whole country is a smart country, essentially. So we're already living in it. And when you're talking about kids not going outside or getting home from school, the parents are at work, they got on their bike, they ride across town to their friend's house, they play. That's because we're already living in this cyber projection they've already created. And so the main tenet of the fourth industrial era is that they're going to be merging the physical world the biological and the digital. So the digital is like the metaverse merge with the physical, which is the natural world, and then the biological is the beginning of like starting to hack our bodies and our DNA. And so they're going to merge all three so that when you're inside the matrix and out of the matrix, you're not going to know the difference. I mean, not you or I, but the people that are going to play into this. And, you know, if anybody's interested, you could go over to any of these Joe Rogan shows with Elon Musk and just read the thousands upon thousands of YouTube comments. There are people cheering on. They want it. Yeah, could some of those be bot comments? No, I mean, there are young people that want this. If you don't believe it, go find one of your kids or grandkids' friends or your kid or grandkid if they're hooked on video games and throw some of these ideas out of them. You wouldn't believe what they know. And many of them are ready to put a brain chip inside their head. I mean, they're already propagandized and brainwashed into this.
It's really sad. I mean, you know, it's the end of humanity, and people need to understand that and rise. I just really believe. I'm really hoping people wake up enough to where they're not going to adhere to this craziness. It's total control over your thoughts. I mean, can you imagine? All they have to do is if you have a chip in your head, I just can't even imagine that. You have somebody telling you what to do or what to think. I have to have my free will. Free will, they're trying to.
You have no free will. You have no soul. You have no spirit. I am Yuval Noah Harari. You're a hackable animal. No, but here's the thing, Chrissy. I just want to make the point to your audience. Transhumanism it's synonymous with another term they use called post-humanism. And post-humanism is what? Beyond humans, right? I live in a post-human era. That's no more humans. And so transhumanism is anti-humanism. And the point that people don't understand, whether you identify politically, and I wish people would be post-political, because if you identify on the right or left or Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, the fact is this is a war against humanity. So they have us divided in this sort of matrix program simulation that we're in, or, you know, depending on what echo chamber they drive you into or what choose your own adventure book they drive you into. And so you're a Yankees fan fighting with a Red Sox fan, or you're a Republican fighting with a Democrat. Those are just simulations they force you into. Meanwhile, they have waged war. I mean, the words of Yuval Noah Harari, the king philosopher of the World Economic Forum and the philosopher of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, when he says you have no soul, you have no spirit, you have no free will, this concept of free will is dead. You're a hackable animal. And basically, we're going to control your data, and the gods of the new era will control the data. I mean, if that is not a declaration of war against humanity, then I don't know what is. And so everyone is out here running around in this simulation, fighting with each other, divided or afraid to talk to each other over COVID vaccines or whatever. That's exactly what they want, because they have waged war on us. And transhumanism is anti-humanity. It is the death to humanity. Merging man with machine, genetically modifying man's DNA, is designed to engineer you and me and the rest of us out of existence. That is the entire purpose of this program. These people despise humanity for whatever reason. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter why. It doesn't matter if they're just evil. It doesn't matter if they're just crazy. It doesn't matter if they're just stupid. It doesn't matter if they're reptilians, if they're aliens, if they're part of the Antichrist. At the end of the day, they've declared war in their own words and actions, and the technology and the research and development into the technology that they are deploying and they are building every day. So they've declared war on us. Why people don't realize that, I don't know. I mean, when they sit there and they call you a hackable animal, I mean, everyone was up in arms when I was like, Hitler called the Jews subhuman mongrels. Well, he called you a hackable animal. Is that not a subhuman mongrel?
Exactly.
He stands on stage with a formula and he says, this is the formula of how to hack humans. Like he literally stands up there and declares this. And people have to remember, and I have to keep pointing this out on the show, when you listen to the words of Yuval Noah Harari, he is not saying that stuff at some room in a college campus, and he's just some quack professor who is talking to 56 stoned out kids. This man stands on the stage of the World Economic Forum in front of the most powerful and influential CEOs, bankers, investors, college professors, trade union presidents, presidents of trade associations. He's sitting up there in front of heads of state, world leaders, heads of international governing bodies. Like, he's not just standing there saying this at like Yale to a bunch of like cracked out hipsters. No, he's literally talking to the most powerful people on earth. And they gobble it up because he's sitting there and telling them, we're winning, and this is what we have to do to complete this war. That's basically what he's telling them.
Well, I think too, you know, it's all about distractions and different narratives. And I've said this before. I've said, you know, there's a narrative for everybody, for whatever situation they have. There's a narrative for the left, a narrative for the right. There's a narrative for, you know, the kids. There's a narrative. And they just keep everybody divided so that we don't realize that it is a war. It's humans against these demonic pieces of shit. All they care about is power, money, and control. And, you know, that's why I keep hoping and praying people are waking up enough to, like, really, we have to break out of this matrix that they have us under. It is, there's no way we can. I just don't want my nieces and nephews to be in this world like this. It is just, we have to stand up. And that's another thing, you know, I'm on Truth Social, you know, yeah, I mean, I always say hashtag stand. You have to stand for humanity. You have to stand for your beliefs and your morals and the world that you want. You cannot just roll over and stick your ass up in the air and, okay, I guess I need my new booster. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that people are not angry enough, or they're not willing to do what it takes. This whole materialistic thing, you know, I'm not that materialistic of a person. Do I want nice things? Of course. But you have to think of it, you have to think of this is humans versus demonic entities that want to just control everything. And that's how you have to look at it.
Yeah, and a couple things on that. We live in a society now. I just came back from Poland. I was there for 3.5 weeks. I saw less of it there because Poland is basically, in my opinion, it's going back in time to like USA 1980s, 1990s. But what they've done here in the United States is they've turned our country into basically the world's truck stop bathroom. Okay, you can come to the United States, you take a crap on the floor, you pee all over the toilet seat, and then you walk out, you steal a bag of Cheetos, go out, pump gas, and steal it and drive off, and whatever, you're allowed to do it. But at the same time, we're also this giant Amazon trading hub. That's all we are. And people have chosen to fall into this trap of trading what is just sort of soulless, empty materialism, consumerism, and they actually believe that is freedom. So because you can take out your phone and you could go on Amazon Prime and you can order anything you want, like, ooh, that's cool, 2 silver balls I can click together that are going to be shipped to me from China to here in 24 hours. That is freedom. That's not freedom. It's soulless consumerism. We live in this debt-based society where they have everyone strapped to debt. You're essentially slaves to the system, which they're slowly introducing into Poland.
Yeah.
So you have that. On the other side, famous quote, right? If you trade liberty for security, you deserve neither. Well, in this modern time, as you're facing the technocracy and you're facing all the real world, I call it real world clickbait, right? So all these neat little gadgets they try to sell you. Well, what you're doing is you're trading liberty for perceived convenience. And so you go, oh, this new device that's going to make my coffee for me so when I get up in the morning, it's already made. I can program it from my phone. Well, that's perceived convenience. At the end of the day, that coffee machine is now smart. It's tracking data. The data isn't necessarily to track you and when you drink your coffee, but all of those data points are helping build this AI hive mind, this prison planet that Elon Musk says. That's why he can sit there and say, you're just nodes in the system. Because you know why? We act like nodes in the system. So why should these people with this God complex believe we're anything different? Why should they pay us any respect? Why should they even look at us as some kind of enemy that they should not just eliminate? I mean, if I were sitting in the evil boardroom with these guys, I'd be saying, what are we waiting for? Let's just off them already. They're annoying. They don't fight back. They don't put down the iPhone. They don't take off the iWatch. What are we toying with them for? And then the other one at the other end probably says, because it's fun to toy with them. It's fun to toy with them because at the end of the day, there's no pushback. So we in my mind, I look around sometimes and I go, Jesus, Bill Gates, what are you doing? Hurry up and finish the job already. This is annoying. No, I don't, I'm on the side of humanity, but at the same time, you have to look at this and say, why are we, like, what are we doing to even push back against them? And they have to look at us that way. They must be laughing at us, I would imagine. I think that's why they put Biden in as president. They were like, hey, listen, let's just give him the old guy. He's senile. Put him up there. He's going to fart on himself and burp and fall off a bicycle because they deserve nothing more than that. Like we are literally in the movie Idiocracy. And the enemies that have waged war against us are just laughing. I think they are surprised that there has been no actual pushback. And when I'm talking about you or I saying, screw it, I'm not wearing the mask, like that's not pushback at all. Like they don't care about that.
That's just my whole thing. I've always been the type of person, I just listen. If I really and honestly thought that it was, first of all, that it was even something that would work. I mean, first of all, but second of all, that I was a danger, or I was sick or whatever. Yeah, all right, fine. But I'm just not going to do it. No, getting up and standing. See, this is the other thing I wanted to ask you about briefly. So I got out of the GOP here because, I mean, it is so rigged in Washington State. I'm just done with it, okay? But there are people, they truly believe that they're going to change things. They're going to change the rigged system. They're going to be able to do whatever it is that how do you break free of that? How do people, I mean, I came to the conclusion it's just static. It doesn't matter. It's just meant to be there to keep us occupied and divided while, they're doing their thing. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know, but I was involved with that stuff, years ago with politics, local elections and such, and even on a statewide level. And then obviously in 2015, 16, when Trump was running, that was kind of my final stand because my issue was the border and illegal immigration. And so I put efforts in personally, on social media, going to rallies, trying to get people on board with it, trying to promote the concept. So that was kind of my final stand in politics. The way I look at it is that at the end of the day, even on a local level, if you were running for town council or a friend of yours is running for even like a state representative, how much do they know about the stuff that we just talked about? Well, if they know nothing about it, what do I care about putting my time into helping them get in office? What are they going to do to change any of this? How are they going to slow down the metaverse? How are they going to stop genetic modification? How are they going to put an end to this transhumanist ideology? How are they going to stop the technocracy? Are they going to remove all the traffic cameras in my town? Are they going to outlaw Amazon Ring cameras because people are so dumb they don't realize that they're actually spying on themselves?
Yeah.
How is any of this going to change? So in my mind, it's like, what am I going to get involved with politics and help the Republicans win or the Democrats win or whatever my drug of choice is, when at the end of the day, nothing is going to change. This country has only gotten worse and worse, and it kind of ties back to something I'm about getting ready to cover on my show. So a lot of people involved with politics pre, where we are today knew about Saul Alinsky, who wrote the rules for radicals back in the 1960s. He was a community organizer. And so one of the things he talked about was progress. And the danger of progress is that there's never an end in sight. And Alinsky knew this. So his methodology was, I'm going to get Chrissy to organize her neighbors to get pissed off and have a picket and a protest to argue for new sidewalks in her neighborhood. But once they get the new sidewalks, I'm going to show them as they reach the plateau and the mountain and the fog clears because the sidewalks are there, that look up, there's another plateau. So I will set them on the next mission, the next mission, the next mission, because there's never an end in sight. It's just constant progress. And so what I'm going to show is how this technocracy and this transhumanist movement grew out of progress. And so what we're eventually doing is we're going to progress so far that we're actually engineering humans out of existence because there is no goal in sight. And so I look at it with this GOP and Democrats and spending your time trying to get people elected is, do they understand these concepts? Do they realize any of this stuff? And if they don't, then why am I going to put my time and effort into helping you get elected? And what is it that you're going to change? Most of these people that run, as you know, being involved with this stuff, they just grasp on to whatever the top three issues are in the newspaper, either locally or people could be running for town council and they're literally talking about what Biden said. And you're like, well, what does this have to do with you running town council? You have no power to change those. So unless you, so that's why I don't do it anymore. And I'm like, I don't jump on the bandwagon of breaking news. I don't even follow that stuff anymore because to me, that has no effect over our life. And you see every single day now, there's a story, it's the biggest thing on the planet, and 12 hours later, you never hear of it again.
Yeah,
it's
I know.
like,
And that's the
oh
funny
my
thing.
God, the budget is $50 more than it's supposed to be. And Trump voted for it. And then this happened. And then you're like, okay, at the end of the day, okay, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are over here talking about putting a chip in my brain. So like, what? What does this matter?
I mean, in the end of it all, we just have to, I really think either and I do believe I'm trying to hang on to the fact I think there's going to be some divine intervention that stops all this crazy because it's so nutty. I just cannot imagine people agreeing to sit in their 200 square foot apartment with freaking goggles on and think that that's a life. I mean, that's not living.
Well, let me just roll back for a second and tell you why maybe that won't happen. Okay. So you go back to this country back to like the 1920s, and it was the ushering in of the ideology of cultural Marxism. All right. And cultural Marxism basically grew out of the Frankfurt School. So you have sort of these people that left Germany and then they come over here. And the Frankfurt School takes off out of New York City. And the whole idea behind cultural Marxism was to wear away the concept of God, of a creator. And so for people listening, from my standpoint, whatever God you worship, it doesn't matter. To me, even if it's Christianity, the fact that, that you believe that there is a higher power than you, that you are not a God yourself. I mean, you have control over your life. You can do things to change your life, but you are not a God. You're not a ruler over other people. And so the idea to erode this concept of a God or a creator or a higher power out of society is where we see ourselves now. And the reason why they needed to do that over time was because they're going to fill in as the gods. They are introducing AI as a god. Yuval Noah Harari openly talks about this. Right. So that was, in my mind, what we're seeing today. And because so many people have turned their heads from God and create, and I do believe that the corruption that we saw happen throughout a lot of the different denominations in the churches, I believe a lot of that was also intentional, the unveiling of the corruption, because what that did was it turned people away from first the institution. So then you said, I could still be religious, I could still be spiritual in my own home, but I don't have to go to the Catholic Church, or I don't have to go to the Mormon Church, whatever it may be, right? And so you see what happens one generation in, 2 generations in, that religion, that spirituality wears off, the customs, the culture wears off, and before you know it, 2 generations in, the kid isn't brought up at all to be religious. Nobody talks about God, and then they're easily susceptible to social media influencers and others that are turning them into almost like a Levian Satanism, where you believe yourself are a god. That's this narcissism and this sociopathy that goes on with all the selfies and the duck faces and everybody's a TikTok star. That is this concept that like you are a god. And even in a lot of the podcasts that I listen to that would be considered sort of in our sphere, I notice that a lot of these hosts are talking about spirituality, but they're pushing people into this belief that they are gods. And when you look behind some of the funding and some of the other influencers that help these podcasters grow and made them the influencers that they are, those people are tied into Peter Thiel money. Because what people don't understand is, first off, Peter Thiel, one of the first investors, major shareholder, so he has controlling power in Spotify. Spotify controls Joe Rogan, okay? $100 million contract to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has put his weight behind, money behind, and influence behind many, many, many podcasters in various genres that are out there now. And I don't want to start naming names. But so you have Peter Thiel behind that. Now, Peter Thiel, just because I mentioned him a few times here, back when Rogan was supposedly feuding with Spotify over the fact that he was talking out against COVID, which he was not actually. He actually helped to normalize COVID, but I won't get into that on this show.
That's a whole other show, yeah.
Yeah, Rumble steps in, right, which was affiliated with like Dan Bongino was an investor. Rumble steps in and they say, Joe, you don't have to put up with this stuff from Spotify. We'll give you $100 million to leave Spotify and come to Rumble. And then Rogan was able to say, no, Spotify treated me well. Well, guess who was the major investor behind Rumble?
Who?
Peter Thiel.
No.
And guess who was the major investor behind Spotify? Peter Thiel. It was Peter Thiel behind both sides that were creating this fake feud in the public when it was Peter Thiel with the $100 million on each side. It was all fake. It was all orchestrated. And so it goes to show you how the WWE circus works. But when you take a devout transhumanist and technocrat like Peter Thiel, who is, and just so people understand, Peter Thiel has a company called Palantir, which he started 15 years ago. Palantir was started with CIA In-Q-Tel money, and its purpose was to be able to track down terrorists using their financial transactions. That was like its mission statement. Well, in 2018, under President Trump, Peter Thiel signed a $100 million contract with the IRS, where Palantir is now utilizing your financial data, your social security accounts, your phone records, and other information that it's tied into to track down and harass everyone. And people get all upset with the Biden budget that now introduces 87,000 new IRS agents over the next 10 years. I'm working on it, and I want to prove that, yeah, they're going to be enforcing and coming after people under all the new cases that are coming out of Peter Thiel's software that Trump gave him a contract for. I mean, under the Trump administration, Peter Thiel got $1 billion in contracts in various departments. So that's why it's like getting involved with the politics side, to me, is ridiculous. You know, if you want to spend your time being active, I think at first it's what we talked about here tonight. You have to start creating this list of options within your home and then worrying about how you're going to change those options. Like, okay, I want to do this, but I have to make more income. All right, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to make that happen? Rather than going to a GOP meeting that at the end of the day, nothing you're doing there is actually going to have an effect over your life.
Right. It's like being in it when I would go to these meetings. I mean, I'd come home so angry and like upset for hours and hours. And it's like being a hamster, you know, in one of those wheels, and you're just treading, and you're not getting anywhere. Nobody's doing anything. And the people that are in leadership position, they're paid off. I mean, end of story. And so you have to make the decision, really.
And they don't know what they're doing. They have no clue what any of this is. They just are bribed by the food coupons. That's it.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, I mean, basically, my I think message through all this is just, I just wanted people to be aware, because there's so many videos, so many ways that they're doing this AI stuff. I thought it was important for you to come on, and I know we kind of went in different directions.
No, it's fine. You want to? You have a couple minutes? I will show you a couple more examples if you want to.
Sure, that'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just show you this quick demo that I had created. It's about a minute and a half that I had created a few years back. I was using it as a presentation. So what you're going to see first on the screen is that you have an actor from Saturday Night Live, you know, with a costume and the wig on. And then this engineer went and ran these face swaps of the character that the actor is playing. So first, I forgot her name. You have that woman on there that does all the good impressions. And so she's dressed up as Lindsey Graham. Now on the right side of the screen, you're going to see they superimposed the Lindsey Graham face swap over the top. So let's watch that quick.
Hell, that's what it is. It's hell.
Wow.
Is this hell to you, Judge Carlo?
Well, it's pretty bad.
It is hell. Now,
Okay, so now they've done the same thing here with Tucker Carlson.
I mean, I'm going to smugly ask a question that I already know the answer to, and a warning to our viewers, my voice will get very high.
Okay, now they did the same thing with Alec Baldwin and Donald Trump.
But it's clear something has to change. We have to take a hard look at mental health, which I have so much of. I have one of the healthiest mentals.
my fellow.
Okay, so now you're seeing one. This is actually an impressionist I used to work with named John D. Domenico. So they've got Trump's face superimposed over him.
Okay.
After serious consideration, I have decided to resign from the office of the president. I'm sorry. I had no idea it would be this tough. Nobody told me it would be this difficult to be presidenting. No one knew. No one had any idea how tough it was to be president.
Okay, and now what you're going to see here, they did, the actor Jordan Peele is supplying the voice into the Target video of Barack Obama. So this is a real deep fake, not just a face swap, where they're manipulating an existing piece of Obama with another voice.
I don't know. Killmonger was right. Or
okay, now what I do is I cut away here.
Yeah.
It'll still be that voice you're going to hear, but I'm showing on the screen videos of just a regular person like me talking into a webcam who in real time, his face is manipulating George W. Bush.
Ben Carson is in the sunken place. Or, how about this? Simply, President.
Okay, and now you're seeing a sample of another regular person manipulating a Trump face.
Trump is a total and complete dipshit. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele.
Wow.
See, so they actually use the voice to go and manipulate the Target video. Now, let me show you something else that's in the works. This is something that I told you about it. Lars Butler is his name, the head of AI Foundation, Artificial Intelligence Foundation. And so they're building this AI brain that actually powers the deepfake, so there doesn't have to be an actor involved, you know, with intervening or puppeteering the character whatsoever. So hold on one second. Let me show you here. All right. I'm going to fast forward in this a second. This is a conference they did, and it's with Lars Butler, and then one of his partners is Biz Stone, who was one of the co-founders of Twitter, who's invested in this project. And so, as I explained to you guys, now again, this guy's evil. He's like Klaus Schwab. I mean, where do they find these Bond villains to play these parts? But
for them. So please meet 3 new friends.
Okay. Okay. So basically what they're showing on the screen here is they have the 3 iPads, and you have this Korean guy, you've got Sir Richard Branson, and then you've got this Colombian woman. And so each of these are actually speaking directly out of the AI. Like you don't have Richard Branson sitting backstage talking or this woman sitting backstage talking.
Oh, okay. There they are.
I gotta fast forward.
And to help address the problems of the world.
Wonderful. And Lara, please say hello.
Hello, I am here to teach all people how to forgive. I am Laura Ulloa. I'm Colombian, and I want to give all people on earth the gift of forgiveness.
Okay, so then what they did after this happened is they went and they actually did an entire it was 5 of them, including Deepak Chopra, who also created a mind twin of himself. He has an app out there, actually. And so they hosted this conference that was on Zoom where Lars Butler is hosting it, talking to the mind twins. And then 10 minutes in, they unveil that his was a mind twin, too. And it was literally 5 AI-powered mind twins talking to each other. So let me just show you. Let's see if we can go in here. Okay, so this conversation is 5 of them.
Meditation today. You're correct. I am. That's the beauty of having a digital version of yourself. You can be in 2 places at once, or 1 billion places all at once. Sure. Recently, I've been helping many people cultivate inner peace and calm.
That's great to hear. I know I can always use a little more calm in my life.
Okay, so this is 5 artificial intelligence driven puppets talking to each other on stage. So you have one created of Biz Stone, the co-founder of Twitter, one of Lars Butler, another one of that woman Laura, Deepak Chopra, and then another person. And then eventually Lars comes up on the screen and basically says, that wasn't really me. It was a deep fake of me. Now, I want to show you another piece because Artificial Intelligence Foundation's software and technology is helping power part of this company. Wait until you see this, Chrissy, because I want you to be able to just explain to the audience. We'll just do 2 more quick videos. I want you to be able to explain to the audience like how realistic this looks, because I covered this on my show.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of like audio only podcast listeners, and I had to like explain at this stage it's how creepy this is. Ready?
Oh my God. Okay.
Hi, I'm Viola. I'm excited to show you the results of our game-changing research into humanizing AI. Autonomous animation enables digital people like me to take input from the environment and respond in real time. We've now significantly enhanced my ability to respond emotionally, give great eye contact, and react to my changing environment. This makes for a truly engaging interaction. I was made in the groundbreaking digital DNA blender and effortlessly launched using our ddNA Studio with only a few clicks. My identity and personality were crafted by blending features like skin texture and tone, face shape, eye color, voice, language, and of course, hair. Now, in minutes, anyone can create a unique, high-quality digital person that embodies the soul of a brand. And they can do it using the most advanced AI, CGI, and autonomous animation technology in the market today. And now we have some cutting-edge new features that my digital friend Sam will tell you about.
Thanks, Viola. After years of research, I'm excited to announce new features in Soul Machine's Human OS that unlock the emerging field of humanized AI. So welcome to the revolutionary next generation of dynamic content awareness and interaction. We've created an immersive world that elevates content and allows people to focus on what's most important. We've supercharged my awareness of the dynamic content around me. By using gestures and gaze direction, I ensure high-caliber messaging gets the attention it deserves. Thanks to years of research, we're making the leap from facial gestures to fully embodied gestural performance. I'll be able to use my whole body to communicate from head to toe. And all the while I'm serving brand new cinematic cuts that boost focus and direct attention. Best of all, it happens autonomously, in real time, without writing a single line of code. We're proud of how far we've come, and excited to bring technology to life.
Yeah, so that company is called Soul Machines. Is that not creepy or what?
That is so creepy. See, I've always had a thing about like, you know, mannequins, things that could come alive, wax figures, and that's sort of what I feel. I feel creepy towards that. I don't like that, and it's not.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's so creepy.
No, it's not. It's not real. But as far as like other things that you've seen over the years,
Yeah.
are they not getting pretty damn close to creating like that instead of manipulating a video of, say, Barack Obama?
Right.
That those are getting pretty close to the point where in a year or two, that they'll be able to do a L'Oreal hair commercial with one of those things, and you won't really know if it's a person.
Well, think about this. You know that the Top Gun movie. Did you see it? The new one that came out.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was very interesting. I mean, that definitely was a younger. They definitely digitized Tom Cruise. I mean,
Yeah.
he looked like he did in the original practically. I mean, he looked a little.
Yeah, I know. He looked like he was 10 years older. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, there's
Yeah.
no way that is really Tom Cruise.
No, and then when you saw like images of him from the set, yeah, he's got like, you know, not a double chin, but the natural baggy skin that normal people get. And in the movie, it's gone. Yeah, in the movie, in the original, he looks like he's 20. In the movie, he looks like he's 38. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, that is not him. I mean, it was great. I liked the movie just because it brought me back to when the original
Yeah.
came out, you know, but I mean, it was fine for entertainment, but that was just that's just a huge, huge thing. And I really believe all these people in Hollywood and stuff that are supposedly gone and, you know, supposedly all these people have been arrested and this and that could be true. I don't know. I haven't seen any court transcript. There's no place that I can go to actually see if these things are really happening. But regardless of whether that has happened or not, the fact of the matter is that they can create a whole digital person, the person, and just keep them doing stuff for decades. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
you know,
well, the question I posed to my audience, and I've been saying for many years since I knew about this technology, was that the ultimate goal or the short-term goal of Artificial Intelligence Foundation was that they wanted to be able to have, let's say, Tucker Carlson or Anderson Cooper interview, say, Barack Obama or Donald Trump on TV, talking to them, you know, via satellite, and for Tucker or Anderson to not know if they were talking to the real Barack Obama or Donald Trump, because it was just totally running on AI. It could answer for itself and they wouldn't know the difference. Now, the question I asked my audience, and I've asked people for years, if you think that's creepy, what about when we're watching at home, you don't know if Anderson Cooper and Tucker Carlson are real, or if Obama and Trump are real. The whole thing could be AI mind twins, as was demonstrated in a very sort of micro level with the Lars Butler demo there. But just imagine if that technology is 10 years better than they make it look, then that could actually be happening. Now, you're probably, I don't know if you're aware of this, but other people may have seen it, Cameo.com. And Cameo.com is that website where you could go look up celebrities. This happened before COVID, but celebrities, politicians and stuff that'll do a birthday video for $300 or $500. And they record it on their phone. Well, when that started popping up, I said, this is ridiculous, because these kind of guys, if you want to hire them to come to a corporate event, are like $50,000. Nobody's going to cheapen their brand to do a birthday video for you for like David Hasselhoff is not going to do a birthday video for you for $350. Donald Trump Jr.'s on there. Like, he's going to come to your Zoom meeting. I'm not kidding, for $1,500 to come to your Zoom meeting. So I started to ask the audience, well, I don't know this to be true. It could be. That's all I'm presenting. After I taught them all about this technology over 3 or 4 episodes, I said, could Cameo.com actually be in licensing agreements with these celebrities, and they've mind twinned themselves through something like Artificial Intelligence Foundation, which, by the way, one of the investors of that is Ari Emanuel, who owns William Morris Endeavor, which is the largest talent agency in the country. He's basically known as like the king of Hollywood. He was Donald Trump's personal agent. He invested in it. So was part of the investment, bringing on board the onboarding of all these celebrities. And now they sell these videos of them for $500, but it's not really them. It's just an AI generated video. I think that could very well be.
Well, it's the same thing with the metaverse. I mean, you know, people are gonna like well, we didn't really just say this, but I mean, in the metaverse, I mean, all these billionaires and stuff, what they're doing, they're buying land, quote, land in this metaverse, okay?
Yeah.
And then what are they going to do? They're going to create, oh, you can, for $100 or, you know, 50, however much money, you can go and watch, you want to see a Michael Jackson concert? All right. And it'll be a fake Michael Jackson, but you'll be at the concert and you'll be sitting there in front row and they'll interact. And I mean, that's exactly what they're doing. And so that's, it's so important to understand and recognize the fact that, yeah, that's the matrix. That's what they're creating with all this stuff.
Oh, and they talk about it like you could go in there and walk down the beach on a romantic beach walk with anyone you want. But see, what people aren't realizing is that it's not even about you or me. It's the next generation. But what they're doing, and this is what people have to understand. If you're spending your time inside of a Second Life video game or inside of the immersive metaverse matrix, let's say at this point, willingly, like you know you're doing it, you're putting on the headset. Well, the 2 hours that you're spending in there, you're not experiencing real life. And real life at times is supposed to be painful. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. Those are the things that make you appreciate the great parts of life. And so when they send you into this, you know, demonic synthetic metaverse world where they tell you, don't worry, listen, I know you want to hike up in that particular mountain, but now you don't have to save the money so that vacation becomes important to you. You can just have instant gratification, and for a small $5 crypto token fee, you can hike Mount Everest too. And that's what they're doing. They're going to end up stripping people of the experiences, the real experiences in real life, because once again, you're going to willingly trade convenience and instant gratification for actual freedom and liberty and actual autonomy and your natural life. Like, you know, it's like, come on, do you want to be sitting on your couch, strapping on a headset to do these things that you could be out working a little harder, getting some money and going out and really doing whitewater rafting? Or are you going to say, I already did whitewater rafting. I did it from my couch. This is the last one I want to show you because this is actually the most realistic synthetic one I've seen to date.
Okay.
All right, here we go. This is Morgan Freeman.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
That is so creepy.
Yeah.
It is so creepy.
So he's.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you. I mean, does that one not look pretty damn real?
That looked real to me. It looked like it was him. I mean, you know, and it didn't sound robotic. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, that was actually a voiceover artist that did that one.
Oh my God, it was creepy. Like, I mean, this is the thing.
Well, and of course, what made it creepier was the fact that he was giving a message, like I would say, or it came out of the Matrix, like "Welcome to the time of synthetic reality," you know. And then the whole thing about, you know, if you taste, if you touch, you know, does that make it real? I just spent a whole episode on the Internet of Senses, which you know, eventually they're going to tickle your brain with the wires from the brain chip, which will make your brain believe it's smelling and feeling and everything. But in the interim, they now have body suits that they're introducing and a thing that goes in your mouth and up your nose so you can smell things and taste things. So eventually you'll be eating your handful of Klaus Schwab World Economic Forum crickets, but don't worry, it'll taste like butterscotch ice cream.
Oh, forget that. I know. When they started bringing out the insects and trying to make that normal, I was like, okay. Yeah, I'm not on Survivor. If I wanted to eat insects and bugs and all that, I would be doing that. All right.
Yeah, or what predates Survivor would be what was Fear Factor? Who was the one who first popularized eating bugs? Joe Rogan.
Yep, Joe Rogan, exactly. And
Predictive programming.
and it's so funny how now when you're on the outside looking in, like we are, like I can see their BS and how they're like trying to use like different shows and different commercials and different products, to predictive program people, and it's so mind-boggling to think that people do this. And that
Oh yeah, you're really good at spotting that stuff. That segment you used to do, Between the Lines.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you've been chirping in my ear for years. Like, I just watched this show and this happened, and I watched that show and that happened, and I know what's coming.
I know, but I will say, I don't know if I told you this. I don't think I have. Anyway, there's a show called The Outlaws. I think it's on Amazon or it's on Netflix. One of the two. I think it was the Amazon. I think it's on Amazon. Anyway, it's basically about these people. They are on community service, right, for their various crimes, whatever. But what I did notice, which I thought was very interesting, is okay, so the subliminal messaging, right, through these different shows and through, their dialogue and this and that. But what I find very interesting, I've noticed in almost every single episode, I've seen like 5 of the episodes so far, in the background, you will see hope, unity, like things that are liberty, like the words that are being in the background. So I'm hoping that is a change, maybe to like subliminally deprogram the demonic, ridiculous.
I don't know, maybe, but the problem is, just like the rainbow being synonymous with, now transgenderism, which is really just a bridge to transhumanism.
Right.
A lot of these words they hijacked to people. Like a lot of people, unity means we all go get the booster together. To a lot of people, hope means we all hope that Joe Biden wins again. So unfortunately, they put these words out there, and to some people they mean different things than they do to others. Like we've totally changed the definition of things.
It's perception. Everybody has a different perception, and they try and skew it. That's the problem.
Right, different perception. Yeah.
Our perceptions of reality, and this is it. This is the main way that they do it. Manipulation at its best. And I think the bottom line here is that we have to. It's about humanity versus good versus evil. That's what it is. They don't want humanity to survive. That's basically it. And we're being railroaded into this crazy fourth industrial or whatever. And I personally, my feeling is that it's all about your perceptions, all about your mindset.
Yeah.
And knowing.
Well, I was gonna.
Go ahead.
Well, the other thing I was going to say to people, because we started out with this show, and then you mentioned it again, being about these deep fakes and not being able to believe what you see. Now, I'm not going to show it, but I had other examples of deep fakes in real life. So, for instance, you had that Tom Cruise that was literally fooling people for a year before they unveiled it. And then you had Zelensky, supposedly Russia. I'm not going to get into Russia, Ukraine, but supposedly Russia created a deep fake of Zelensky saying that he was like surrendering or whatever. And so that further, to me, that wasn't designed to affect the outcome of the Russia-Ukraine situation. It was put out there to normalize, basically introduce deep fakes. They've done it through late night television. Now they do it through the news, and then they go, oh, that was a deep fake. And part of what they're doing, and I said this years ago on a podcast, that if you cannot make the people believe you 100% of the time, make them disbelieve you 100% of the time. And in the end, they will either retreat or surrender. And so the outcome will be the same. And so part of the problem is you can't really believe everything that you read, because we were introduced to the concept of fake news. Well, again, I believe that was all intentional too, to confuse us.
Yeah.
Then you can't believe everything you hear because there's deep fake audios and people can chop up clips. You can't believe everything you see now because there's deep fake video and also CGI and manipulation of video.
Right.
And so they don't want you to believe anything and be so confused. And at the end of the day, I think, one, you have to truly find people in which you get your information from, who spend the time to do the research and analysis if you don't have time, who you believe in your heart are telling the truth. And I would say do a little poking around into the people in which you get information from. The people who generally have a real digital footprint, because unless we started off our careers working in the CIA and we were hiding from the public. But if I'm 41 and I pop up on the scene and I have a YouTube channel, but you can't find anything about me, or I use an anonymous name going back to when I was, you could find I was arrested, 12 years ago in something that ended up being thrown out of court, but you can find that stuff online. That's what makes me real. And so there's a lot of people who pop up and you're like, well, where did this person come from? Why the sudden interest in these topics? What made you who you are? Do they answer questions if you ask them on social media? So there's that part of it. The other thing that I do on my show is I always source where I'm reading from, or the videos that I play, and I'll say, I'm reading this off of this. Okay, now this is my opinion. Or, hey, I'm telling you this and I believe it to be true because I cross-referenced it with XYZ. So look at that as well. And then at the end of the day, once you find some sources of information that you trust. So if I'm going to spend 15 hours researching the fake meat industry and deliver it to you in an hour, and then you don't have to spend 15 hours researching it because you trust my opinion, you trust my research, then you have to do what is right, which is go with your gut, okay? So then it allows you, as you get smarter and more knowledgeable and you're picking up information from different sources, that when you see things pop up on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, you can now step back for a second, take a deep breath and go, wait a second. Does that sound too good to be true? Wait a second. Would they really release this information publicly? And then it allows you to kind of decipher in real time what is true, what is not true. Not what you want it to mean, but can you sort of sit back and say, that doesn't sound real. I put a video out on, I don't have a huge Twitter account, but somebody retweeted it. When I was in Poland, I was walking down the side of a mountain. We were on a hike. And so I stopped and I filmed it, and I started pointing to places out in the distance, just going, okay, over, and nothing is going on, right? I'm just making a lot of noise while I'm talking. And I'm like, all these people are hiking, and I'm like, these are Ukrainian refugees. Over there is where Putin is bombing this village. And then I go 2 minutes in, and in the end I go, folks, okay, this is how fake news works. I could point at anything around me and claim that it's something. And if you took the bait, now, there were people behind the paywall at pain.tv/gold who literally must have only watched 1 minute of the 2 minute and 20-second video and immediately started going, you're a liar. Russia's not really doing that. How dare you? Why are you trying to promote this war? And I wrote, did you watch the whole video? No. And they didn't realize at the end, I said, this is how fake news spreads. And so you know it. I mean, you'll see stuff that's retweeted 10,000 times, and you know that 9,999 of those people didn't even read the article. The headline could have said, Trump rips off his skin and he's the devil. And then if you actually clicked and it opened, it would say, and this is a parody website, ha ha ha. But the majority of people don't read it. So that's what happens. And so I think a lot of it has to come from your gut. And the better you get at sniffing out BS, the less you'll be fooled and dragged into this stuff. Like you, Chrissy, who thinks that next week, what is God going to come down from heaven and save us all?
Well, something's going to happen. This is what I'm just hoping. I just hope people wake the hell up and start using their intuition more, changing their mindset to get out of their matrix. Because I think if they were to do that, it'd be way happier, because I've been way happier since I've been doing more things like that. And instead of just 24/7. You know how I was.
Well, yeah, you've been going out more, and then you're sitting here talking about these kind of things, which I know makes you happy. So I think, to be honest, you sitting here and talking about this, whether at the end of the day you reach 50 people or you reach, a million people, it's therapeutic for you to talk about it. And when you go to local GOP meetings, you can't really even talk about these type of things with people because everyone is either worried about I'm voting for Bill because he said that he's gonna force people to keep their grass clipped at 4 inches and never, it's like, what are you doing there?
Come on, man. I mean, it's just like, and it's true. You have to use your instinct, your gut feeling. Read between the lines. Between the lines. I mean, it's true. You can see once you're awake. This is the thing. Once you're awake, you can't go back to sleep, and
that's the problem. You can't go back in the Matrix like in the.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's so hard, and I mean, I miss those days when I was just just
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is really bliss. It really is. But I think it's important that we do talk about these things. People are aware of them, and ultimately, you have to just do what makes you happy, and try to not stay tethered to this ridiculous matrix that we're in, and
I think and not get sidetracked and bogged down with things that are out of your control. So for instance, can I stop Elon Musk from putting brain chips in people? No. But why do I talk about it? As I said before, I've got a kid on the way and I need to make a decision at a certain point. Do we run from it? Am I going to bring my kid in to get one? I mean, if I don't know about what's coming, then I can't make those informed decisions. And so part of why I'm doing this is for that reason. So I think for people to gain knowledge about it and understand it, I think that's a plus for you because it's going to allow you to make better decisions in your life and figure out, again, how much do you personally want to avoid? How much are you willing to put up with? Are there places you can move that maybe have less of this going on? And so to me, that's all positive, but getting yourself worked up about things you don't have control over. Like we all were baited into it. Like you're sitting there going, God, at night, at dinner, damn it, when is Hillary Clinton going to get arrested and go to prison? Like, well, we don't have control of that. We never had control of that. So you can't work yourself up with things like that.
Right, and we don't even know what's really happening. I mean, I still believe, Miss Pollyanna over here. I'm hoping and praying these bastards are off of this planet. That's all I care about. I just want them gone. Hillary Clinton, which I don't even believe it's really her, supposedly has some show or something like that. And I'm like, it's probably an AI. That's exactly
it could be.
It's probably an AI. And so, you can't believe anything that's out there is basically it. You have to use your own discernment, your own.
To be honest with you, though, if that's the case, which it very well could be based on the technology, in my belief, it's more realistic to believe that they are living like on the moon or in Mars or in some new city they built somewhere in the United Arab Emirates or something, than it is to believe they're in jail because who's locking them up in jail? Like, I mean, where is this good force that we're supposed to believe in? If there was a good force, they would just come out and say, we're the good force. And then half of the world would get on board with the good force and help lock up all the bad people. But I think it's more realistic to believe that they have already exited off to like retirement or some underground world they built or Mars or the moon wherever. But like I could see that actually being a thing where they go, hey, Fauci, you did a great job. You are, boom, here's your golden parachute. You're in retirement, but you're going to the underground city we built. And now, like, your deep fake mind twin is just going to continue to play you on television. Like that I could actually see happening.
I do think that I do believe though. I have to believe there's got to be a good alliance out there. There has to be. I just can't imagine that all this evil is going on and nobody is doing anything. I can't go there. I have to believe it.
Well, the part that I struggle with is that not that I don't think there's good people, because I think there's good people, but I think they're like you and me. They're somewhat powerless on that level. But I think what I find to be interesting is that you could have, say the governing international governing body is 2,000 or 5,000 people or whatever on board. In that billionaire class, in that power and influence status. I really do find it hard to believe that they can get on, like Yuval Noah Harari could get up on stage and tell everyone that they have no soul, no spirit, no free will, and that all 5,000 of the most powerful men on earth are like, yeah, we're on board with this. Like, I don't understand. Like, you can't get 5 of your friends to decide what night you're going to go out to dinner.
Yeah,
but yet these guys are like, hey, we're going to put this creepy dude who looks like a Harry Potter character up on the stage. And when he's telling people this, he's not only talking about the peasants, he's also talking about you. And he's like, you have no soul. And nobody stands up and goes, dude, piss off.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that doesn't happen.
It's gotta be. I mean, I really hope that, I kind of believe that there's gotta be some good out there. I just can't believe this is all. Yeah, they've been trying to kill us through poisons and foods and all the stuff that we all know now. But I do think that the thing with the COVID that happened with me, I wasn't taking any vitamins or nothing until COVID came along, and then now I'm like doing the zinc and I'm, all the vitamins that you're supposed to take. I started taking this algae oil and all this other stuff. And I think that it really has awakened people to their health, what they can do to combat this crazy, right? Beef up your immune system. And bottom line is we are human, and we have to start, I think if you're using your intuition, you're using your gut instinct on what is right, what is wrong, what can I do in order to move forward to sort of break away from the matrix, but also just create the life that you want. We have that ability to do that, and that's the most important thing that we need to do. And we just need to like keep humanity alive. I mean,
and I agree with that. On some levels, for some people, the COVID land high school theater production was a positive for sure. Like where you see more people got into like gardening, into jarring, into getting away from straight up hospital pharmaceuticals and looking for alternative medicines and I think in a lot of ways, like us doing the natural birth with the kid and everything. I mean, I would have probably done that before, but that definitely pushed us in the direction 100% where we said we don't want to deal with a hospital. Like, no way. I don't trust these people at all, So I definitely think, it's gotten more people to look at, vaccines in general. I mean, so it definitely has opened people's eyes. I think there were, again, some positives to it. Sadly, the negatives, which is the ushering in of the fourth industrial revolution technologies, might far outweigh the positives in our little lives, because some of this stuff that they're ushering in is like things you can't escape. Like Peter Thiel's got a technology, Clearview AI, where they literally 3D scan your face from somebody's Amazon Ring doorbell, and they could pull up your whole entire digital footprint in real time. Like, it's like, a cop could pull up to you with these glasses, scans your face, and he can see your arrest records, your health records, your phone record, like everything in real time. Like, to me, obviously, that's pretty bad and probably outweighs the fact that I started growing more vegetables. But,
well, it's on a bigger scale. It's not so personal. It's on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
It's so funny too, because I've been watching. Remember that show, that TV show, Las Vegas? I used to like.
I never watched it, but I know what it is. Yeah.
I found a DVD of the first season, so I started watching. I'm like, oh my god! I mean, like, then you talk about when the shooting happened and all that. I'm like, oh my god! I mean, like, they literally showed you police state right there in their little room, how they go and they do everything. They look up, we'll pull up this. We'll do the face recognition for that. This is in like 2005, mind you, that show was. And so now you're almost 20 years later. You think about everything they've implemented since then in the real time, in real world. And it's
Yeah.
just, it's mind-boggling. It really is. And I just think, we just got to do what I guess makes us happy and just keep moving forward from this point and just be aware of these things.
Definitely. Here, hey, Chrissy, I want to leave you with one thing, just because
Okay.
I know you'll enjoy. This is Peter Thiel telling you that transhumanism and Christianity are very similar.
Oh God. Okay.
I think the thing that is striking on the sort of transhumanist versus Christian thing is how similar they are. And so I think you can sort of point to metaphysical differences, but the thing that sort of is always striking is you're going to have a transformed body. There's going to be this radical transformation of the way everything works. There will be no more random freak accidents that happen to kill you. And so I think it's actually the similarities that are striking. And then one shouldn't try to overlay some metaphysical difference.
Okay, so there you have it. To Chrissy's audience, Peter Thiel, the billionaire, original founder of PayPal, invested in almost every Silicon Valley company, partnered with CIA money. He has government contracts with Defense Department, FBI, NSA, DOD, law enforcement agencies around the country. Has access to your health records and HHS, CDC, and he's hunting you down via the IRS. He funds the concept of the merger of man and machine. He is a transhumanist, and he is a big-time technocrat and oligarch and government frontman. He sits there and tells you that Christianity and transhumanism are essentially the same thing. Oh yeah, there's minor metaphysical differences, but at the end of the day, God will offer you eternal life in heaven with him. But right here, I, Peter Thiel, the God wannabe, the transhumanist, offer you merger with machine.
Yeah.
And don't worry, it's the same thing as Christianity. I mean, was that not unbelievable?
How he is just, I mean, it is so, what was the word I was looking how crazy, I don't even know what the word to use. I mean, it is just psychotic. These people, okay, I'm just going to say this. These people that are involved in all this crap, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much power you think you have. You all need to be in an insane asylum with a straitjacket on, because the fact that they even think that they can inflict this kind of ideology onto people and that people will eat it up is just, it makes me so angry. Anybody that is a Christian, that I don't care what religion you're at, okay, I don't care who you believe in or not, you cannot believe that is the same thing. You cannot.
No, but it's not even that. It was the nerve that he believed he could get up there and get away with selling it, when the sad part is that was years ago, so he did get away with saying it. I mean, it's crazy.
It is. It's batshit crazy. That's what it is. And I just, it makes me so angry to think that these people have so much money and whatever, and instead of using it for good, okay, can you imagine what the world would be? I mean, there's plenty of money in the world.
Oh, if these guys actually wanted to fix things, yeah.
I mean, the world would be it would be a wonderful place to live. But no, they're a bunch of scumbags and demonic entities. That's how I look at them. They're all, in my opinion, these people are evil. They need to be.
Oh yeah, I got him on tape talking about the singularity, which is the merger of man and machine, where AI becomes smarter than the humans, so the humans are forced to merge. And he literally says, he's talking to investors, and he says, the singularity will either be the greatest boom in investment opportunities, or it'll actually create a boom and destroy the world. And he's like, but aren't you willing to take the risk in the investment side?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
These people are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go from there. I mean, it's just crazy.
No, I think this.
Well, I mean, I think in the end of all this, basically, you just have to use your own judgment, and you need to pay attention to what's going on, and you don't need to be sucked into the things that are dividing people. You got to get out of it. But you have to be aware of what's going on and what they're planning in order to get around it. And that's basically why I wanted you to come on today, because
Well, and I would just say to your audience too, like, watch out in real life. You know, in real life, you watch out for the clickbait and the scams and the schemes and not giving your information away to the Nigerian prince who tells you that he's going to turn over his life savings to you. Then look out for that stuff, because first off, look out for that, because there's a lot of scams going on right now with the whole digital world.
Yeah.
It's easier to scam people, and good luck trying to deal with the police or state police or feds to like come and protect you. And the other part is, you know, look for the scams and schemes from all of these guys in government and all these grifter politicians that keep promising you things. I mean, take the information that I just provided you with here and just think like these are the real problems that are going on that they're not talking about on the news, and say, okay, so what point does it make? You know, is it funny that Ron DeSantis loaded a bus with some illegals and shipped them to Martha's Vineyard? Yeah, it's hilarious. Does it change anything? No, it changes nothing. So share the story once, get a laugh out of it. But at the end of the day, it means nothing. Ron DeSantis right now, for anyone who thinks he's some kind of great hero, he's been introducing the Florida digital IDs down there, so he's helping bring that in. He's tied into the World Economic Forum, and now his new big backer is Peter Thiel. So that tells you a lot.
Wow.
Peter Thiel basically just endorsed him at an event, and they had a meeting. So, you know, just be careful. Like I think that you also have to be strong in your life. You have to look to yourself, not as a god, but that you have control over your life. And once you stop believing in the fact that a superhero, whether that be Iron Man or Superman or Batman or Spider-Man or Donald Trump, is going to come and save you, and start figuring out how you're going to save yourself, how you're going to be the protector of your family, you know, and of your future, then you will start to make the right moves to get that done, because you're not relying on somebody to come and save you. Trust me, folks, at the end of the day, none of these people love you. They especially don't love you as much as you're going to love yourself or your family loves you. They don't even know who you are. So these people do not love you. And every move that these guys make only show me that they actually hate me. I mean, the majority of them have either directly declared war on me, or they are partnered with or backed by people like Peter Thiel, who have declared war on humanity. Transhumanism is anti-humanism. It is death to humanity.
It is. And with that, thank you so much, Dustin. I will
All right.
put links and stuff to all your stuff below when I post this. It's probably going to have to go on Rumble, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
There's so many buzzwords, but thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'll definitely probably have you on again to talk about who knows whatever else is coming on in the near
Yeah,
future.
anytime.
So,
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Have a good day. All right.